It's the news nobody saw coming, but everybody's talking about Boosie, the rap legend who's built a career on surviving controversy after controversy, has just been sentenced to a jaw-dropping 10 years behind bars. Fans are stunned. The hip-hop community is shaken, and the internet is spiraling into chaos. But just when you thought the story couldn't get any colder, Charleston White, the king of unfiltered opinions and brutal honesty, steps into the spotlight, and what he had to say about Boosie's downfall left people gasping for air. Imagine it. A courtroom packed with cameras, reporters whispering, family members crying, and Boosie sitting stone-faced as the judge delivers the crushing verdict. Outside, fans are chanting his name, holding up signs, demanding justice. And then boom, Charleston White goes live, laughing, mocking, and throwing verbal daggers like only he can. His words weren't just harsh, they were icy, cutting straight through the pain of Boosie's family and leaving fans divided. This isn't just another rap beef. This is betrayal, humiliation, and heartbreak playing out on the biggest stage possible. Stick around, because the twists in this story will have you questioning loyalty, friendship, and what it really means to survive in the game. The courtroom was packed to the brim. Every seat taken, every camera pointed straight at Boosie. The air was so thick with tension, you could almost slice it with a knife. Reporters whispered like vultures circling prey. Fans outside the courthouse chanted his name, and inside, his family sat frozen, clutching each other's hands as though bracing for an earthquake. Boosie himself sat rigid, eyes staring forward, jaw clenched so hard it looked like his teeth might crack. This was the moment he had dreaded. The moment everyone feared was coming, but still hoped could be avoided. When the judge's voice boomed through the courtroom, you could feel the collective gasp ripple across the room. 10 years, the judge declared, the words echoing like a hammer strike on stone. Boosie didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't move. But his mother broke into sobs so heavy the bailiff had to steady her. His daughter covered her face with her hands, while his brothers shook their heads in disbelief. And outside, the crowd erupted into pure chaos, shouts, tears, outrage filling the air like a storm. What made it worse? What turned this tragedy into a spectacle was that almost immediately, while Boosie was being led away in handcuffs, Charleston White went live on social media. And the words he unleashed were nothing short of venom. "I told y'all this was coming." Charleston sneered into the camera, grinning like he had just won the lottery. Boosie been playing tough guy for too long, and now look at him. 10 whole years. Boy, you ain't no street legend, you just another number in the system. You thought you was untouchable, huh? Nah, they touched you real good this time. Fans flooded the comments, some laughing along, others furious at the cruelty of his timing. How could you laugh while this man's family is breaking down? One viewer typed, another wrote, "Charleston, you cold for this? Too cold." But Charleston didn't back down. If anything, the more backlash he got, the more he smiled. Back at the courthouse, Boosie's sister stormed outside to face the press. Tears streaked down her face, but her voice carried fire. "They want to break him because they can't handle the truth he speaks," she cried out. "They want to destroy a man who has always given back to his people." This sentence ain't justice, it's revenge. But the reporters barely had time to process her words, for someone shoved a phone in her face, showing Charleston White's live broadcast. When she saw his smirking face and heard his mocking tone, her grief turned into fury. "You think this is funny?" she shouted into the cameras. "You're laughing at a man's pain. You're laughing while kids are losing their father. God will deal with you." Meanwhile, Boosie was being escorted to a holding cell, every step heavy with the weight of betrayal. In that moment, his mind wasn't on Charleston White or the headlines exploding across social media. It was on his children. He pictured their faces, their tears, their confusion at why their father was suddenly being taken away again. "Daddy gonna be back," he whispered under his breath. A promise to himself more than to anyone else. But promises are fragile, especially when the world outside is tearing you apart. Hours later, the internet was ablaze with reactions. Some fans posted videos crying, saying they couldn't believe Boosie was gone for a decade. Others called it karma, pointing to his long history of controversies. Celebrities chimed in too. One rapper tweeted they trying to silence another black man with a voice. Free Boosie till it's backwards. Another wrote, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. 10 years ain't nothing to laugh about. But I can't say I'm surprised, and yet, through all the noise, Charleston White's voice cut through like a knife. He continued going live, doubling down on his insults. This man been acting like a gangster his whole career, talking reckless, starting beefs, disrespecting people left and right. And now his own mouth done caught up to him. Y'all crying? Y'all need to be thanking the judge. Boosie ain't no role model. He's poison. The more he spoke, the more divided fans became. Some admitted in hushed voices that maybe Charleston had a point. Others swore they would never forgive him for mocking someone at their lowest. But either way, the drama only grew. Behind closed doors, Boosie's family held an emergency meeting. They gathered at his mother's house, emotions running high. His cousins argued about how to handle the media. His sisters cried over the thought of children growing up without their father. And his mother sat in silence, staring at the floor, as though the weight of it all had finally broken her spirit. Then came the breaking point. Boosie's brother slammed his fist on the table. Enough of this crying. We need to fight. We need to appeal. We need to show them they can't do him like this. But before anyone could answer, Boosie's daughter, her voice shaking, spoke up. But what about Charleston White? Everybody at school already sending me videos of him laughing at Daddy. How am I supposed to face that? The room fell silent. Nobody had an answer. Nobody knew how to protect the family from the cruel circus outside. Meanwhile, Charleston White was basking in the chaos, loving every minute of it. He posted another video, this time with even sharper words. Boosie fans mad at me? Cry harder. I don't care. I've been warning y'all about that man for years. He's toxic, and the streets finally caught up with him. I'm the only one brave enough to say the truth while the rest of y'all living in denial. His words spread like wildfire. And soon major blogs picked up the story. Headlines read, Charleston White mocks Boosie's sentencing. Hip-hop world divided over Boosie's fate, and fans clash online. After shocking comments, the story wasn't just about Boosie anymore, it was about the feud. The spectacle, the drama spilling out for the world to devour. But deep down, for those who truly loved Boosie, none of that mattered. What mattered was the thought of 10 years without him. Birthdays missed, holidays empty, dreams shattered. And through it all, the haunting sound of Charleston White's laughter ringing in their ears. Like salt poured into an open wound. And as Boosie sat alone in his cell that first night, staring at the cold walls around him, he whispered again, Daddy gonna be back? But this time, even he wasn't sure if he believed it. The silence of the cell was deafening. Boosie leaned against the cold concrete wall, his head bowed low, his hands clasped tight, like he was praying even though he hadn't spoken to God in years. Every sound echoed, the clank of distant doors, the shuffle of guards' boots, the muffled voices of other inmates. But inside his head, it wasn't the prison noises that tormented him. It was Charleston White's laughter. That cruel, mocking laughter replayed over and over like a broken record, drowning out even his own thoughts. Outside the prison walls, the world couldn't stop talking. Twitter was in flames, Instagram flooded with memes, TikTok buzzing with clips of Charleston's lives. One viral video showed Charleston sitting in his car, shades on, laughing so hard he nearly choked. 10 years, Boosie. He cackled. 10 years of cold showers and ramen noodles. Boy, you wanted to play gangster? Now you get to be gangster in the pen. Don't drop the soap. The video racked up millions of views and hours, splitting fans straight down the middle. Boosie's loyal supporters were furious, calling for Charleston to be canceled, accusing him of being heartless and jealous. But Charleston's own fans defended him, saying he was just telling it like it. He was just telling it like it. He's the only one real enough to call out Boosie? One comment read. Another said, sometimes the truth hurts. Y'all just mad he's saying what everyone else is scared to. Back at Boosie's mother's house, the family sat glued to the television as news channels played clips of Charleston's rants. Boosie's daughter burst into tears, her face buried in her grandmother's lap. "Why is he being so mean to Daddy?" she cried, her voice trembling. Boosie's mother stroked her hair, her eyes red and swollen. "Baby, some people got no heart. But don't you listen to him. Your daddy loves you and he's gonna come home." But Boosie's brother wasn't as calm. Pacing the floor, his fists clenched, he snapped. "Nah, this man done crossed the line. He not just talking about Boosie, he dragging the whole family. He laughing at our pain. You think I'ma sit back and let that slide? Nah, I'ma find him. I'ma pull up and see if he'll laugh and then." His words sent a chill through the room. Boosie's sister quickly stood up, her voice sharp. "Don't you dare. That's exactly what he wants. He wants you to lose control so he can get more clout off our name. You think going after him gonna help Boosie? It'll only make it worse." Meanwhile, in the prison yard, Boosie started to hear the whispers. Inmates nudging each other, chuckling, repeating Charleston White's words. "Yo, Boosie Charleston, say don't drop the soap." One inmate called out, laughing with his crew. Boosie's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. He knew better than to show weakness. Still, the humiliation burned. And it wasn't just the sentence, it was the circus surrounding it. Inside his heart, anger began to boil. "Charleston White want to make a fool out of me?" He muttered under his breath. "We've gone see about that when I get out. We've gone see." But outside, the fire only spread. Charleston dropped another bombshell, this time claiming he had inside information about Boosie's case. On live, he leaned into the camera, smirking. "Y'all think Boosie's some innocent victim? Nah, I heard from a reliable source he'd been running his mouth in them streets, stepping on toes he shouldn't. That's why the system came for him. Y'all worship him like a hero. But he ain't nothing but a liability." His words lit up the internet like gasoline on flames. Fans were shocked. Some believed him, others called him a liar. But one thing was certain, he had people talking, and that's exactly what he wanted. Reporters hounded Boosie's lawyer, desperate to know if there was truth behind Charleston's claims. The lawyer shook his head, exasperated. "This man is a clown. He has no facts, no evidence. He's just running his mouth for attention. Please stop giving him a platform." But it was too late. The more they tried to silence Charleston, the louder his voice became. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. Another rapper, once close to Boosie, decided to side with Charleston. On Instagram Live, he said, "Look, I've been quiet long enough. Boosie ain't always been the man y'all think he is. I done seen him snake people, disrespect people, act reckless. Maybe this 10 years is what he needs to humble himself." Charleston might be harsh, but he ain't lying. The betrayal hit like a dagger to the heart. Boosie's family watched in disbelief as someone who once stood beside him now turned his back when he needed loyalty the most. Boosie's cousin threw the remote at the TV, shattering the screen. Snakes, they all snakes. When he was free, they smiled in his face. Now he down, they kicking dirt on his name, in prison. Boosie heard the news through the grapevine, and for the first time since his sentencing, he broke. Slamming his fist against the wall, he shouted, "They want to bury me alive. But I ain't dead yet. They gone see, they all gone see." The guards rushed in, barking orders, but Boosie ignored them. His chest heaved with rage, his eyes burning with the fire of betrayal. It wasn't just about the sentence anymore. It was about everyone turning on him, everyone laughing, everyone doubting. And Charleston White, with his endless lives, was the ringleader of it all, back in the outside world. Fans organized protests, demanding Boosie's release. Videos showed crowds marching with signs that read "Free Boosie" and "10 years is too long." The chants grew louder, the energy more intense, as social media amplified their voices. Yet even as fans fought for him, Charleston mocked them too. "Y'all out there screaming for a man who don't even care about y'all," he scoffed. "While you losing your jobs and your freedom marching for him, Boosie sitting comfy in his cell eating noodles." Keep being stupid. Keep worshiping your fake king. His words poured gasoline on the fire. And soon, arguments broke out not just online, but in the streets. Fans clashed. Friends argued. Families divided over whether Boosie was a victim or simply reaping what he sowed. And in the middle of all the chaos, one question hung heavy in the air. Was Charleston White exposing the truth? Or was he just a vulture feeding on Boosie's downfall? Boosie, sitting in his cell, clenched his fists and whispered again to himself, "Daddy gonna be back." But this time, the whisper carried not just pain, it carried rage. A promise of revenge, a vow that when he returned, he wouldn't forget who laughed, who betrayed, and who stayed silent. And as night fell, somewhere out there, Charleston White was going live again. His grin wide, his voice booming, ready to pour more salt into wounds that were already bleeding. The nights in prison were the hardest. Boosie would lie awake on his thin mattress, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly in the hallway outside his cell. And his mind would replay everything like a broken movie reel. The chants of fans outside, the tears of his children, the laughter of Charleston White tit, all blurred together into one endless loop of torment. But as the days turned into weeks, something inside Boosie shifted. The grief that had weighed him down began to harden, into something else. Anger, determination. A plan. Word on the yard was that Boosie was already gathering allies. Inmates who respected his reputation, who admired his name, started to circle him. They whispered about how he walked with his head high even with 10 years on his back. "He's still Boosie," one of them said. "They can lock him up, but they can't break his spirit." And in those whispers, Boosie found fuel. Outside the walls, the circus only grew wilder. Charleston White kept the spotlight on himself, unleashing live after live, each one crueler than the last. One night, he sat in his living room, sipping from a glass, his phone lighting up with thousands of viewers. "Y'all don't get it," he said with a sly grin. "Boosie ain't no victim. Boosie is the villain. And I'm just the messenger exposing him. His own people know the truth. Y'all about to see more snakes crawl out the grass." He wasn't lying about that, because the very next day, another blow landed a cousin of Boosie's. Someone who had been part of his inner circle gave an interview claiming Boosie had pushed away family members for years. "He didn't treat us like family," the cousin said, tears streaming down her face. "He was all about fame, all about himself. Now that he's in trouble, everybody acting like he a saint. But they don't know what we know." The betrayal cut deep. Boosie's sister nearly collapsed when she saw the interview. "Our own blood," she sobbed. "They turning against him for TV? For a little bit of money?" Boosie's brother punched a hole in the wall, his fury boiling over. "Snakes everywhere," he growled. "Charleston out here planting seeds and these weak ones falling for it." The internet exploded with theories. Some fans believed the cousin, saying it was proof Boosie wasn't as innocent as he claimed. Others accused her of selling out the family just to get attention. But either way, the drama had grown bigger than ever. Inside prison, Boosie got wind of the interview. When a guard slid a folded newspaper under his cell door, Boosie opened it slowly, scanning the headlines. And there it was, his cousin's face staring back at him, her words printed in bold. He sat there in silence for a long time, staring at the photo. Then, without warning, he tore the paper to shreds and tossed it across the cell. "They want to break me from the outside," he muttered, his voice low, almost like a growl. "But they don't know who they dealing with. I'ma survive this. I'ma come back stronger. And when I do, everybody gone pay for laughing." But Charleston wasn't finished. Days later, he dropped yet another live, this time claiming Boosie's career was officially over. 10 years. "You think the industry gonna wait for him?" he mocked. "By the time he outs, these kids won't even know his name. He gonna be a has-been, a relic, a ghost." His own family already turning on him. "I told y'all Boosie done. Write it down." The comments section went wild. Some fans begged Charleston to stop, saying he had gone too far. Others laughed along, egging him on. "Say it louder, Charleston," one viewer typed. Boosie stans need to hear the truth. Another wrote, Boosie ain't making it back. His time is up. But not everyone was against Boosie. At a packed concert across the country, a popular rapper stopped mid-performance to speak on Boosie's situation. They trying to bury my brother. They trying to bury my brother. He said, his voice echoing through the arena. But you can't bury a real one. Boosie gon' rise again. We gon' keep his name alive until he walk free. The crowd erupted, chanting Boosie's name, holding their phones high with flashlights glowing like stars. Clips of the moment went viral, giving fans a flicker of hope in the middle of all the chaos. Back at Boosie's mother's house, the family gathered to watch the video of the concert. For the first time in days, Boosie's daughter smiled, whispering, "See, Daddy still got people who love him." But the joy was short-lived because almost immediately, another notification popped up on the screen. Charleston White going live again. This time, his words were colder than ever. Y'all really think Boosie gon' rise again? Man, stop living in fantasyland. The system don't play. Once they got you, they got you. He ain't rising, he's sinking. And when he sink, I'm gone. Be right here to remind y'all I told you so. Boosie's mother couldn't take it anymore. Tears streaming down her face, she whispered, that man got no soul at all. The family sat in silence, the weight of it all crushing them. As Charleston's laughter echoed through the house like a ghost that wouldn't leave. Meanwhile, in prison, Boosie was finally given a phone call. He dialed his mother's number, and when her voice answered, trembling, he felt both relief and pain. "Mama," he said softly. She broke down, sobbing into the phone. "Baby, we here for you. We love you. Don't let them break you." Boosie clenched his jaw, fighting back his own tears. "I ain't breaking, Mama. I'm built for this. Tell my kids Daddy love them. Tell them Daddy gon' be back." But as he hung up the phone, the bitterness returned. Because deep down, he knew love wasn't enough to silence the noise outside. He knew Charleston White's voice was getting louder every day, poisoning the world against him, turning people he trusted into enemies. So Boosie started to plot. In the quiet of his cell, he wrote names down in his head, those who betrayed him, those who mocked him, those who stood by him. He swore that when he walked out of those gates, he would set things straight. Outside, the war of words escalated. Boosie's lawyer went public, blasting Charleston for spreading lies. "This man is making a mockery of a serious situation," he said firmly. "He's exploiting Boosie's pain for clicks and clout. Enough is enough." But Charleston fired back instantly, posting a video laughing hysterically. Lawyers crying now? Boy, y'all desperate. Y'all know Boosie finished. I'm just the messenger. The internet was at a boiling point. Fans battled in the comments, friendships broke over debates, and the hip-hop community was split right down the middle. Boosie's name was everywhere, but so was Charleston's, and the feud had become bigger than either of them could have imagined. And as Boosie sat in his cell, fists clenched, eyes burning, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about 10 years anymore. This was about survival, legacy, and revenge. And neither man was backing down. The weeks dragged into months, and still Boosie's name dominated headlines. Every day, new stories surfaced, new betrayals, new rumors. The longer he sat behind bars, the more the outside world spun his life into a spectacle. It wasn't just about his sentence anymore, it was about loyalty, family, enemies, and the war of words that refused to die down. Inside prison, Boosie was carving out a routine. Wake up, exercise, write lyrics on scraps of paper, and listen to the whispers that floated around the yard. Inmates came up to him with phones they had smuggled in, showing him the latest headlines, the latest clips of Charleston White. Every time Boosie saw Charleston's face, grinning, laughing, mocking, his stomach twisted into knots. One afternoon, Boosie sat in the yard staring at the sky, when another inmate slid beside him. "Heard your boy Charleston went live again?" the inmate said, a smirk tugging at his lips. Boosie didn't respond, but the man continued. "This time," he said, "when you get out, you gone, have nothing left. No career, no family, no fans. Said even your kid's gone, turn on you. Boosie's fists tightened, his jaw locked, and for a moment, he didn't move. Then he whispered, when I get out, he better be ready, outside. Charleston White was doing exactly what he promised, pouring gasoline on the fire. During one of his most controversial lives yet, he leaned forward and said, y'all know what's the saddest part? Boosie's own people selling him out. They finally tired of his mess. That family divided and it's only gonna get worse. And me, I'ma be here watching, laughing, because he built this house of lies. And now it's crumbling on his head. Those words turned out to be prophetic. Not long after, Boosie's eldest son shocked fans by posting a cryptic message on Instagram. Sometimes the people you look up to ain't who they pretend to be. I still love my pops. But I can't lie, life been hard growing up the way we did. Everybody painting him like a hero. But y'all don't know the whole story. The internet exploded. Fans dissected every word, some rushing to defend Boosie. Others claiming it was proof of what Charleston had been saying all along. Boosie's family went into panic mode, calling the son to take down the post, but the damage was already done. Screenshots spread across every platform, sparking endless debates on his cell. Boosie heard about the post and felt his chest tighten. His own blood, his own son, questioning him publicly. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Charleston could have said. That night, Boosie sat alone, his head in his hands, tears finally breaking through the wall he had built. My own child, he whispered. My own child turned against me. Charleston wasted no time capitalizing on the moment. He went live almost instantly, laughing harder than ever. Y'all see? I told you. His own son calling him out. Ain't no loyalty left. Boosie's empire is finished. Y'all been worshiping a false king, and now the crown falling off. Fans were stunned. Some said Charleston had gone too far, crossing a line no one should ever cross. Others admitted the timing was cruelly perfect. But either way, the feud reached new heights, dominating the culture like a reality show that nobody could turn off. Back at Boosie's mother's house, the atmosphere was unbearable. Arguments broke out daily, family members pointing fingers at each other, some blaming the son for speaking out, others saying the truth needed to be told. Boosie's sister shouted through tears, this family falling apart. And Charleston White sitting somewhere laughing at all of us. Boosie's brother slammed the table so hard dishes rattled. Then maybe we stop crying and do something about it. I'm tired of being a joke to the world. In prison, Boosie's rage grew with every headline, every whisper, every laugh. But he also grew more strategic. He started writing lyrics again, pouring his pain, his anger, his betrayal into verses. Inmates who heard him rap in the yard said his voice carried a fire that shook them to their core. Man sound like he bleeding on the beat, one inmate said. Like every word cut deep. Boosie told anyone who listened that when he got out, he would come back stronger than ever. That the music would silence everyone who doubted him. Yet even as Boosie planned his comeback, Charleston wasn't slowing down. In one of his most watched lives, he declared, "Mark my words, Boosie ain't never making no comeback. Y'all waiting for a ghost?" By the time he get out, this whole world moved on. His songs gone sound like old man music, and y'all gone forget he even existed. Those words lit a fuse. Boosie's fans launched a massive campaign online, flooding platforms with his old songs, trending hashtags like #free, BOOSIE, and #BOOSIE will rise again. The music blasted from cars, clubs, and even high school gyms, proving that even in prison, Boosie's voice couldn't be silenced. Still, the fractures in his personal life couldn't be ignored. His son's cryptic post remained a wound that wouldn't heal. And Charleston made sure to remind everyone of it at every opportunity. Family don't lie, Charleston sneered in one video. If your own son say you ain't who you pretend to be, then maybe you ain't. Maybe Boosie been a fraud this whole time. The feud spiraled to such heights that major networks began running specials about it. Panelists debated whether Charleston was a truth teller exposing the flaws. of the hip-hop industry or just a cruel opportunist feeding on another man's downfall? Fans tuned in like it was must-see television. Each new episode of the drama more shocking than the last. And through it all, Boosie sat in his cell, fists clenched, heart heavy, eyes burning with determination. "They trying to bury me," he whispered to himself, "but I ain't done. When I walk out these gates, the whole world gone. See who Boosie really is?" The feud had started with a sentence, but by now it had grown into something much larger, a battle of pride, legacy, loyalty, and betrayal. Charleston White had thrown the coldest daggers. The family had fractured, the fans were divided. But one truth remained. Boosie was still alive, still fighting, still promising that this wasn't the end. And as the world watched, one question burned brighter than all the rest. When Boosie finally stepped back into the light, would he rise like a legend reborn, or would Charleston's words haunt him forever? Proving true, the prophecy that his empire was already gone. Empire was already gone. And just like that, the story leaves us on the edge of our seats. Boosie behind bars, staring down 10 long years, his family torn apart by betrayal. And Charleston White standing in the spotlight, laughing louder than ever. Fans are shocked, the hip-hop community is split right down the middle, and the questions just won't stop piling up. Will Boosie's legacy survive the weight of this sentence? Or will Charleston's prophecy come true? Can a family divided ever heal when the whole world is watching? And when Boosie finally walks out those gates, will he rise as a legend reborn, or come home to find nothing left but ruins? The drama isn't over, rights, only getting started. Every day brings a new twist, a new betrayal, a new headline that keeps fans glued to the screen. The laughter of Charleston White may be echoing now, but deep down, everyone knows Boosie's story is far from finished. 10 years is a long time, but history has shown us that legends don't just disappear, they adapt. They fight, they rise, and now it's your turn to weigh in. Do you believe Boosie can make a comeback after all of this? Do you think Charleston White is speaking cold truth? Or is he just feeding on another man's downfall for clout? Whose side are you on in this feud that has shaken the culture to its core? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear every perspective. Don't forget to like this video if you stayed hooked to the drama. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next shocking update. And ring the notification bell so you're the first to know when the story takes its next twist. Because if there's one thing we've learned from this saga, it's that nothing stays quiet for long.